There's some big news for us travelers. Experts are projecting that by June 2024, 2 airports in the UK are getting rid of their liquid rules for traveling. The reason why is because these airports are getting a new generation of CT X-ray scanners. These scanners can see more of the insides of our bags, they're able to get 3D images, and have the ability to flag dangerous liquids in our bags without us having to take things out of our bag. So this could mean no more liquid rules, no more having to take out our electronics, faster lines, and an overall less stressful security experience. We'll see how this continues to unfold, but if it's successful, that means that this was probably going to be rolled out to a lot more airports. But unfortunately, that day is not today, and for a lot of people, TSA airport security can be an overwhelming process. Questions like what can I bring, what can't I bring, what is considered a liquid and what is not? If you've asked any of these questions, this video is for you. In this video, I'll be breaking down everything you need to know about the TSA before you travel. There's a lot of talk about TSA and what's allowed, what's not, what we should do, what we shouldn't do, but what is TSA? TSA stands for Transportation Security Administration. They're a department within Homeland Security, and they were formed in November of 2001 after 9/11. They oversee the nation's screenings and security measures for aviation and other modes of transportation. An important thing to know about going through TSA airport security is the infamous liquids rule. In the US, we call this rule the 311 rule. For your carry-on and personal items, all liquids must be 3.4 ounces or less, in a 3.4 ounce container or less, and all of those liquids must fit inside a 1-quart bag, and there's 1 bag per traveler. An important thing to know about this rule though is that the container itself must be 3.4 ounces or less. So for example, if you have face wash or lotion and you just have a little bit left in the bottle and you don't want to dump out whatever's left into a smaller container and you just want to bring the bottle with the little bit of liquid that's left inside, they will not let you through security with a container like that. The liquid has to be 3.4 ounces or less, and the container that's holding the liquid also has to be 3.4 ounces or less. There has been some flexibility on this rule over the years, and some airports will have you take out that 1-quart bag and place it in a separate bin by itself, and then some airports will not ask you to do that. And in the future, we might just see this rule eliminated, like those 2 lucky airports in the UK. But as of today, the rule still stands, and it's best to follow it to save yourself time and stress when going through airport security. You would think that it should be pretty cut and dry as to what is considered a liquid and what's not. But there are some things that are exempt from TSA's 311 liquids rule, and it's important to know and become familiar with their guidelines. For example, almond butter and water follow this rule, but breast milk and medications do not. I'll leave a couple links below in the description box about TSA's liquid rules and their exemptions. If you or someone you're traveling with has a disability, or you have nervous children that you're traveling with, you can actually call ahead and make special arrangements with TSA. Your flight, however, must be no less than 72 hours. This program is called TSA Cares. It's a screening assistance program for anyone that has a disability, medical conditions, assistance with a service animal, or who has a hard time understanding English. These are just a few things, but they can assist with a lot more, so check the description box for more information. Now let's talk about some common TSA line mistakes that you'll want to avoid making when going through TSA security check. The first mistake is arriving late to the airport. Depending on the airport, TSA security lines can get pretty long, and I always advise getting there early. Most travel experts will say for a domestic flight, try to get there at least 2 hours early, and for an international, try to shoot for 3. This is usually what I follow just because I know myself and I tend to get pretty stressed when it comes to time, but you know yourself best and you gotta do what works for you. But you do wanna add a little bit of cushion and some extra time just in case you have to do some extra screening, or maybe one of the conveyor belts breaks down. I mean, you just never know what could happen. When you arrive early, sure, you may have to do a little bit of waiting around, but at least you aren't stressing out and you can go through security with just a little more ease. You can also utilize resources like apps and websites. The TSA app, My TSA, is great for looking at estimated wait times for airport security. There's also a really great website called TSAWaitTimes.com. You can search for an airport and get security wait times, and you can use these resources as a guide to help you decide on when you want to leave for the airport or when you want to get there. The second mistake is not dressing with TSA in mind. When you go through the security line at TSA, you're gonna need to do a couple of things. You'll need to take out larger electronics that are bigger than an e-reader, something like a laptop. You'll have to take off your shoes, belts, and jacket. You might also have to take out your liquids and make sure that you empty your pockets. Like I said before, there's been a lot of flexibility on some of these rules depending on the airport and sometimes depending on the line that you're in. But with all this in mind, it's best to be wearing clothing that's going to make that process a little bit easier. So for example, having shoes that you can easily slip on and off, making sure you don't have metal clips in your hair. If you have to keep going back and forth because you forgot to take things off or you left something in your pocket, these things might cause a little bit of extra stress and might make the entire airport security process a little bit longer for you. When you're packing for a trip, most people will say, myself included, you want to travel and wear your heaviest items on the plane. And if you're traveling during winter, your heaviest shoes might be a pair of boots, and they might look like this. Here's what you can do if you're wearing those kind of shoes and you're traveling. My tip is to untie your shoelaces and loosen them up while you're in line. Then take the ends of them and tuck them into your shoe under your feet. That way, when it's your turn and you're at the front of the line, you can easily slip your shoes off and stick them in a bin. Overall, what I'm trying to say is anticipation is key. I like to anticipate where I am in line and watch what other people in front of me are doing. So if everyone is asked to take out their heavy electronics, I know that that's probably what I'm gonna have to do. So when I get to the front of the line, I'm prepared and ready. Something else that you can consider doing is having a specific travel day outfit. A go-to outfit equipped with shoes that you wear every single time you travel. Something that's easy to go through TSA airport security with, and most importantly, that you are comfortable wearing. This can also help make your travel days easier because you don't have to think about what you're wearing or put together an outfit. You've already done that work ahead of time and you can just throw on that outfit. If you do have a lot of stuff to take off and a lot of bells and whistles, another thing that you could do is consider using the benches that are directly outside airport security. Almost every airport has a couple benches outside the TSA security screening where you can sit and you can reassemble yourself. The third mistake is arriving to the airport unprepared or not packing with TSA in mind. So to piggyback off of the second TSA line mistake that I just mentioned, this one is just as important. This is a common mistake I've seen with travelers. Make sure before you even leave for the airport that you have everything you need lined up and ready to go. Travel documents, passport if you need it, ID, and it's a good idea to keep everything that you might need for airport security in a certain section. That way you can easily pull them out when you need them and put them right back. I've also heard of people putting all their necessary documents in the pocket of their jacket, so then when they take their jacket off and put it into the bin, everything's together. Then on the other side of security, they can reassemble and put everything back where it needs to be. The more you can avoid opening tons of bags and rummaging through everything, the better and easier it's gonna be. I also know a lot of people who will pack their personal items strategically for TSA security, like packing their electronics and travel documents on top, and then when they're done with security, they'll rearrange everything and pack everything for their normal trip. That same idea can be applied also when you're traveling internationally and have to go through customs. Something I personally do is I have a dedicated airport wallet type thing or like a passport holder, and what I do is in that wallet I have all of my travel documents that I need for my trip and I have my passport. So this has been beneficial for me because it's helped me with my mental load. There's so much that goes into travel, from planning to booking to packing, that sometimes by the time we get to the airport we have so much on our mind that it's so easy for us to forget something that we really needed for our trip. If you're loving this video so far and you're finding it helpful, make sure to like the video and subscribe to this channel. The fourth mistake is bringing questionable items. Bringing or packing prohibited items for the TSA security line is actually easier than you would think, because a lot of us carry things on our person for protection. So for example, pepper spray or a pocket knife. But if you don't know what the prohibited items are for TSA, you might end up packing or accidentally bringing something that you can't bring through TSA. If you have an item and you're not sure if you can go through TSA security check with it, check TSA's website. They have a whole page that lays out alphabetically what you can bring in both your checked bag and your carry-on bag. And this is especially important, especially for all of you that tend to keep your bag semi-packed. So you have items that you just keep in your bag no matter what. Make sure you're double checking your bag so that you know what's inside before you even start packing. This is also important because they can press criminal charges against you, especially if they think you brought it intentionally. And if you have something like TSA PreCheck, you can get your TSA PreCheck temporarily revoked. Mistake 5 is not watching your items as they go through security. When it comes to keeping your belongings safe from theft, you can never be too careful. And what I mean by this is when you're going through TSA security, you want to still be mindful of your belongings and where they are in the process. You want to watch your items as best as you can. I know it's really hectic and there's a lot going on, but you want to still keep an eye on your stuff. And there are some security belts that have 2 lines and you have to push each one through. And those I find take a lot longer to go through. But it is important to keep an eye out on your stuff because unfortunately, even TSA officers have been caught stealing stuff off of the belts. So just be very careful. The sixth mistake is not checking the bins and the surrounding areas once your security screening is done. Like I've been saying in this video, security can be very hectic and it's easy to leave stuff behind, even if you are careful with your stuff and even if you are packing strategically. What I like to do is once I'm done with security, if I'm not in too much of a rush, I like to just look over and make sure my bin is completely empty, I haven't left anything. Like I was saying earlier, you can also utilize the benches that are directly outside of airport security to rearrange your stuff and to just double check that you have everything that you need. Because if you do forget something, at least you're not all the way at your gate or deep inside the airport and don't have to come all the way back to security, and by then it might not be there. Mistake number 7 is getting confrontational with a TSA agent. We've all seen those TikToks of TSA agents yelling at people to take their laptop out, take their shoes out. I know that not every TSA officer is like that and not every security experience is like that, but it can be tough to not let the hectic energy get to you. Honestly, sometimes I feel like going through TSA security is like, I feel like I'm an awkward teenager again. You're in a line full of people taking things off, walking around in your socks in front of all these people. It's a lot. But you want to do your best to avoid getting confrontational with a TSA officer. I know it can be frustrating, especially if you're asked to do extra screening or they're telling you that you have something in your bag that you know you don't, but try to keep your cool and just remember that they're doing a job. Try not to take anything personally. It'll also make your travels a lot nicer as well. The 8th mistake is not considering getting TSA PreCheck. Ever since I started traveling with TSA PreCheck, airport security has gotten so much easier for me. I would say, in my own personal opinion, that if you consistently travel at least 3 times a year or more, then I would consider getting TSA PreCheck. It's an expedited screening process that gets you through security faster. You don't have to take off your shoes, you don't have to take out your electronics, and the lines are sometimes shorter, depending on the airport and the time of day. It costs $78 and it's a 5-year membership. So if TSA security really stresses you out, then it is something you might want to consider. This is not to be confused with global entry though, so if you are trying to figure out the difference between global entry and TSA PreCheck, which one should you get, you can find all of that information in this video right here. And I will see you in the next one. Bye.